Because nothing costs $1 anymore. So
Which camera?
You 2 pennies each time you go up $1. Louise, okay, you do the fucking math in your head.
Happy Christine Calvo Saturday, everyone. It's Saturday night. Don't drive drunk. If you're drunk, that's the drunk call. This is how Christine Calvo looks when she's drunk or when she has beer. And it's how she looks when she doesn't have beer. You need to look like that when you're driving home tonight, okay? Don't drink and drive. It's dangerous. Well, don't do drugs and drive. That's dangerous. When I was an ecstasy user, that was like, there's just no way you could not fucking drive on ecstasy. If anyone ever tells me they're rolling on ecstasy and decides to get behind the wheel, I'm gonna be like, you are fucking crazy. You need to get your ass back in the hotel room, and you cannot be on the road because you're worse than a fucking drunk. Like, people on the road, their eyes literally rolled. My eyes literally rolled around. It was just, it was such an ugly drug. So, tonight we're on our 26th day, right? 26th, Chelu? 25th. We're on our 25th day since James Hubert got a reprieve from the Butterball Turkey. Rendrati Celis-Santiago, the publisher of the Pacific Daily News, who gives reprieves to her friends and her workers at the PDN from their crimes. They don't publish their crimes, even though her editor was a drug dealer for a number of years. And her best friend, the past chairman of the Chamber of Commerce, James Hubert, did this basically hit and tried to run in Tumon 25 days ago. Let's roll that video again.
World Star! Yo, World Star! World Star! Lauren, go over there now. Lauren, go over there now. When I say fucking listen to me and it's over there now, go over there now. Okay, yeah, that ain't cool, bro. You gotta chill here, man.
Yeah.
You gotta wait here.
You gotta sit right here.
Right here, man.
I got his key, don't worry.
You gotta wait here. Okay? Alright, your number, I got everything. I'm undercover. You gotta stay here. You gotta stay here.
Yeah, we're fine.
Get out of the car, man.
I got it.
Please, get out of the car.
No.
Get out of the car, please.
Did someone call the cops yet? Or?
Put it in park.
Yeah.
Please get out of the car.
Yo, he kept walking.
Please get out of the car.
The purple light. I straight him out.
Hang on, wait.
Get him out. Alright, Sylvia.
What the fuck's going on, dude?
This guy just came out and hit the bus.
Yeah, I got it on film.
Huh?
I got it all on film.
Yeah, I saw him on the river.
Yeah.
He's gonna get arrested, right?
Yeah, you should, man. It's not cool, Barry.
James Hubert, drunk. James Hubert, Christine Calvo, not drunk. James Hubert, Christine Calvo, drunk. James Hubert, not drunk. Inspired by Christine Calvo, drunkest of them all. Now, we do this because we in journalism, activist journalist organization that we are, advocacy journalism is what is the brand of journalism that we do. But at the end of the day, all journalists are supposed to be truthful and honest and bring to the people information relevant to society's progress. And Rendrati butterballing that information into her oven and not cooking it on a press leaves much to be desired of the integrity that we expect out of a local newspaper. And her covering up the James Hubert thing, the David Crisostomo thing, I mean, it's scandalous. It really is. And that's why we're going to call it out every single day until the Pacific Daily News actually runs that story. Because they're full of shit. I have more on on the Bobby Ho files. On Nora Weaver's Facebook page, thank you so much, Georgine, for these comments. They are just fucking hilarious. Tisha Meno Hill writes, "Forget learning how to do eyebrows. Hoes need to learn how to keep their legs closed." And then Georgine Tyson wrote, "Tisha Meno Hill almost sounded like you called me a hoe. Bah ha ha ha. Tisha Meno Hill." Georgine Tyson, no, girl, never. We all know who the hoe is." Georgine writes, hashtag Bebe Ho, hashtag Bobby Ho, hashtag Bob Job, hashtag Mucus Girl, hashtag Saki Melania, hashtag 506 Ho. And then my favorite fucking comments are on Facebook. I shit you not. Paco Vanessa Bermudez, Georgine Taitino, Tisha Meno Hill. She upgraded to Pochada Patricia, remember? Pochada Patricia. This Bobby Ho done fucked up, all right? She just fucked up by taking her Mully's man. Because now she's got a pack of fucking mean wolves on her fucking ass. And they're not gonna stop. And I'm not gonna stop bringing it to you because it is so fucking hilarious. And you know what? Georgine deserves some fucking justice because that bitch stepped to her. Now, I recently found out that Bobby Ho is a Doka Ho. Yeah. She works at Docomo Pacific. And I thought, of course she fucking works at Docomo Pacific, where nothing fucking works, except probably her cooter. Okay? That's how she stole Larry. It was like, get out of here, Georgine. She works at fucking Docomo. She was like, oh yeah, she's a fucking Doka Ho. Makes all the sense. Women at Docomo, hold on to your fucking husbands, okay? And if that bitch asks you to baptize your child, say, fuck off, ho. Get the fuck away from me right now, you man stealer. So earlier today, because Kandit News does not close, right? We are a 24-hour bring you all the news that's relevant to the progress of society organization. And so we're going to present you at least one show every day. Of course, we've been presenting more than just one. And we're going to have a lineup as soon as we actually open the newsroom, which is like 40 feet this way. And we haven't finished constructing the newsroom, but we'll get to that probably in a couple of weeks or something. We just have to set up the lights and some like crane or some, I don't know, something that holds the lights so they don't fall on Johnny and me and kill us. And then we're gonna have to like make up some story about how we died with glory and honor instead of being killed by the lights. But today we, in our obligation and responsibility to gather up the truth and provide it to you, we tried to call Sergeant Paul Tapau, and then when we couldn't get a hold of him, even through GPD dispatch, we tried to get a hold of Janela Carrera. None of them were answering their phones, which baffles me because they should be working. There's just no ands, ifs, or buts about it. They should be working, and maybe they're avoiding my phone calls. I don't know. So what we tried to get was information on who is still in the Mandania Drug Task Force, because Sergeant Paul Tapau last week said that the task force still exists. Well, hey, if Sang To has been transferred to the Agate precinct and hasn't reported to work yet, well, we want to know who's in Mandania, since he was the one who led it before, who's leading it, and who's still in it. And because Sergeant Paul Tapau didn't answer his phone the many times that we called today, and because Janella Carrera didn't answer her phone the many times we called today, we're just going to plant our happy asses over at Adaloop at 7:45 in the morning on Monday, and we are going to try and get the governor to answer this question. Since Janella doesn't know a thing or two about protecting her boss, you know, insulating her from the white hot light of public scrutiny would be part of her job. If she doesn't want to answer the phone, she's not doing her job, and she's doing her boss a great disservice, because we have a job to do, and that is to provide information to all of you. And we're going to get that information come hell or high water, and we'll be there, respectful as can be, with our cameras, rolling live. And at some point, I mean, if the governor goes to work, then we should be able to see the governor roaming the hallways of Adaloop. And if we don't see the governor, we'll see Tony Babauta, the chief of staff, or John Jr. Calvo, the deputy chief. We'll see somebody. Hopefully we see Darlene Salas, the whore bag, not wanting to take our phone calls. But we'll be at Adaloop, so that won't be a problem. If people in the government don't want to answer their phones, fine. We'll go to their offices, and we'll get them on camera, live. We'll shove a microphone right in their faces, and we'll ask them those questions, because that is the job of the media, and we are the media. So, tonight, I wanted to bring you something. I know we were supposed to talk about John Bell as a twat, but we had to set that aside for a second because we came across some filings in federal court. And then, as we were digging into some things, we found that there is a local company that is responsible, is in an industry, and that industry is responsible for almost everything that we eat, wear, use, whatever, including like most of the drugs, okay? This is like how important these shipping companies are. It's estimated that 95% of everything we consume on this island is imported by ship, from the Pacific, from the port of Los Angeles, or the port of San Francisco, or ports in the Philippines, China, et cetera, whatever, right? So, we found out, well, first, let me just make this, let me just try to break this down. If you're near your refrigerator, open your refrigerator. Or if you're near your pantry, open your pantry. Or if you're near a closet, open your closet. And if you're AJ Balahaja, come out of the closet. If you're like a Catholic priest who likes little boys, you know, come out of the closet. If you're actually, we don't want AJ. AJ, get back in that fucking closet. You're fucking ugly and retarded. So, look inside your closet, look inside your pantry, and look at the furniture in your living room, okay? If everything you see in your refrigerator is in a package or came from a package, like if the pig that you're eating comes on a tray, on a white styrofoam tray, or if the cow that you're eating comes in a white styrofoam tray, or if we don't make cheese on Guam, all right? I mean, some people do from bad hygiene, but other than that, we don't make cheese on Guam. We don't make milk on Guam. Almost everything that you can think of that you consume comes from somewhere else, and it's shipped here. Now that places shippers in a very powerful position. And before 2011, there were two main shipping companies that brought goods to Guam. They were Horizon Lines and Matson Navigation Services. Both of them are considered U.S. flagged ships, with ships that are built in the United States. The fact that their ships are built in the United States has them covered under the Jones Act, and we'll discuss the Jones Act in a later episode so that this doesn't get too boring. But in a roundabout way, the Jones Act is a protectionist United States law that dates back to like the 1920s or something. It was a law that was enacted to protect the U.S. naval fleet. Like that was the entire intent. It was to protect the transshipment interests of the United States during a time of war. Or conflict, or whatever it's called. So that's why the Jones Act exists. And over the years, it has been used by big ass companies with big ass lobbying groups like Matson, like Horizon, like United, Continental, etc., to protect their interests as companies. If you can say that the Jones Act is probably the single largest subsidy that the United States Congress provides to any industry in the United States. If you think about it, the protections offered by the Jones Act, meaning it's not necessarily a protection, it is the cutting out of any competition to any of these U.S. flagged ships or aircraft carriers. So that's one of the reasons there were only 2 companies servicing Guam. But even the fact that there were 2 companies created competition, so that if a container filled with your favorite cheeses, oranges, oatmeal, I'm describing the kinds of things I eat, so it sounds kind of boring, right? Okay, pizza rolls, Hot Pockets, flank steak, whatever, right? Comes in these containers. A big part of what you pay at the grocery store is the cost to ship those things in those containers, and those containers cost the local stores some money to bring over because they have to be shipped from the port of Los Angeles or San Francisco or wherever to Guam, and they have to go through certain routes because of this Jones Act thing. The longer the route, the more expensive it's going to be. If they're bringing shit to Guam and they're not taking anything out of Guam or somewhere close to Guam to ship to somewhere else, it's going to be way more expensive. Like it's economies of scale, but it's the way it works. It's the way the market works, right? So, in 2011, Horizon Lines pulled out, leaving Matson as the only shipper to Guam. And then the Maritime Administration flipped out, U.S. Department of Transportation and the United States Navy, because that meant that this one company had a monopoly and could dictate all the terms. It's not like it's not as simple as let's just say Shell gas station became the only service station on the island, and there was no more Mobil and there was no more 76. You know, even at that, right? There's nowhere else to get gas but Shell. Even at that, us consumers, we can make choices to not drive our cars so much. We could walk a little bit more, whatever, right? Like at least there are realistic options that we have. But when it comes to shipping, we don't have many options unless we're gonna like grow our own chickens and only eat eggs and chickens, and like never mind almost everything that we eat, and we're gonna have gardens of our own. And you know, those are nice dreams and everything for Guam, but that takes some time. In the meantime, when there's only one shipper, if you don't want to pay the prices that that shipper is charging, I mean, what are you gonna do? You're gonna call up Amazon and you're gonna be like, hey, can you send that thing here? Just send someone who can swim 2,000 miles across the Pacific Ocean. Yeah, because I don't want to go through Matson. Yeah, they charge too much. So it's just send a good swimmer and put the cargo on his back. Yeah, that dildo that I ordered, just have it sent over on a swim, all right? It's not gonna work. So effectively, they have so much more power in the form of a monopoly. But luckily, in 2012, thanks to the Maritime Administration and thanks to something called the Maritime Security Program, a company returned to Guam called American President Lines, or APL for short. Broke the monopoly. And the reason it was so important for them to come in wasn't necessarily for the good of the people of Guam, though that was a collateral benefit. What was important to the U.S. government was the need to ship things to Guam for the construction of the marine bases, for the military buildup. Over the past few years, the U.S. Navy has sort of been outsourcing this shit, because before it was the Navy. The Navy existed to send cargo and construction materials and all this shit all around the world to all of its bases and shit, right? Now they sort of scale down and they're like, okay, our role is going to be during time of war, in war zones, we're going to transport these construction materials and cargo and Marines and whatever, right, to these war zones. Guam is not a war zone. And so in order for the military buildup to work, the Navy needed a commercial partner, U.S. flagged ships that would bring their cargo to Apra Harbor and then have ships that were small enough to make it to Tinian for the construction of the firing range there. So berthed at, it's so funny I said birth, like Joe Man Brown is like a whale giving birth at Apra Harbor. Berthing at Apra Harbor at the port, at the seaport, and then heading over to Tinian to drop off some shit there and whatever, right? So they needed APL. So there's this maritime security program that they looped APL into, and APL has all of these U.S. flagged ships, and they have exactly what the U.S. military needs in order to make this military buildup work. Now, things have accelerated between that time and 2019. Because between now, and we see the construction happening on the roads already, between now and 2022, some $3 billion is going to be spent by the U.S. Defense Department on the military buildup. And whatever percentage of that for shipping rates is the amount of money that Matson and American President Lines stand to benefit. They're competing against each other now, right? It's a competition. Over the years, that competition has led to lower rates on the island despite the higher taxes. While we've seen our grocery prices increase because the Calvos are just that fucking greedy, but we have not seen is our grocery prices increasing even more because of the price of shipping. Because there's been competition. And it would have been such a clusterfuck if APL hadn't been here the past 7 years. Well, we found out. Oh, and by the way, I just look at my notes here. Within the first, I think, couple years of APL's venture here in Guam in 2012, naval cargo capacity increased by 50% and cost to the Navy decreased by 30%. So it was like a big thing for them, and this is part of the national security of the United States. So APL being here is like a big deal, right? U.S. Department of Transportation agrees. And then we found, let's cut to video 1. There's a lawsuit that was filed by Matson against the U.S. Department of Transportation. It is, oh shit, hold on. It was filed, I believe, November 18 of last year. And there were filings all the way up until March 22nd of this year. It is a lengthy civil litigation filed in the U.S. District Court in the District of Columbia. And it says, complaint for declaratory and injunctive relief. What this 29-page document seeks to do, this is the civil complaint that Matson filed against the U.S. Department of Transportation Maritime Administration, is get rid of APL. As if these greedy ass people at Matson didn't already have enough. After enjoying a 1-year monopoly on this island, they are trying to take out this rinky-dink operation called APL, which is providing a huge service to the Navy and to the national security of the country, not to mention giving Matson a little bit of a run for its money so that it can keep rates down. It can help to keep rates down so that we're not spending so much money out of our pockets for everything. They go and file this thing in district court seeking to disqualify APL and remove APL from its service lines on Guam. They want to become a monopoly again. This is just corruption at its fucking finest, and this is how shit like this hurts. And I say corruption because Matson's pocketbooks, Matson's money is deep in the pocketbooks of campaign coffers, not just on Guam, but throughout the United States Congress and the powers that be in Washington, D.C., and these decisions that are being made in Washington affect us very much. And I'll get to that whole campaign contributions thing on Guam thing in just a bit. That'll be the final piece here. But let's just go now to, let's see that second video. In filings, APL says, and these are in federal filings, that the Maritime Security Program is to a large degree a national defense program implemented to ensure that the U.S. has and maintains a fleet of ships adequate to support ongoing and contingency military sea lift requirements. The Navy needs them. That's exactly what that says, okay? And then you can see from a section in the United States Code under Title 46, it's to meet national defense, and other security requirements and maintain a United States presence in international commercial shipping. That's like us, okay? We're in the international commercial shipping waters. The problem is that we're so fucking far away from the rest of the United States. And so Matson is playing this game where this protectionist game, like, hey, we're the U.S. Flag carrier with the U.S. ships, with the ships built in the United States. We should be getting all of the business, which means we should be getting all of the military buildup business. That's what they really want, is the military buildup business. Well, APL is fighting back, and they're fighting back for a reason. Let's go to the Matson monopoly. The fact of the matter is that Matson, this is in federal filings, the fact of the matter is that Matson has enjoyed a monopolistic position in Guam since December of 2011, and anything below 100% market share at rates they dictate is to be resisted. This fact brings shipper interest and the economy of Guam into the discussion. Matson, you have to understand, Matson, it's not like it's 50-50 between APL and Matson, okay? It's like Matson 90 and APL 10. You know, but the fact that they're providing this sort of competition or this competitive playing field helps to keep our prices down. But Matson's not satisfied. They're just that fucking greedy. They're like Calvos. They don't stop, you know, until they have everything. And they want everything because they want the monopoly, because that monopoly allows them to set rates that will break our fucking backs, and they don't care. Matson is not a local company. It's not. They put people... recently they put people at the top who are from Guam, but I mean, come on, those are the token brown boys and girls, just to make it look like they're local. They're not a local company. They're taking their profits and goes to wherever the fuck Matson Navigation Services is. So, well, what do their profits look like? What have their profits looked like since they became this behemoth company after Horizon left the playing field? Let's go to Matson 50% profits. In 2012, after Horizon Lines withdrew from Guam, the governor has economic plan, blah, 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 blah. Because at this time, you know, okay, so I have to hand it to Governor Eddie Galvo. This is probably one of those honest things that he did. There were very few. He was concerned about this whole shipping thing because he understood it just as well as anybody else, that there was a monopoly that was created. As a consequence of Horizon's departure, for the first quarter of 2012, Matson's container volume to Guam increased by 94%, and their company-wide profits by 50% over first quarter 2011, clearly demonstrating the power of a true monopoly. A true monopoly. This is something that will hurt us, friends, okay? This is, and the fact that it's not really a monopoly right now because of APL, but just the sheer size, the sheer magnitude of Matson's presence on this island, its ability to do things that APL cannot, already has given it an advantage that has increased our costs. Imagine what will happen if they're successful in pushing out APL. Now let's go to, well, before we get to this last video about Matson. So when talk about this whole Matson trying to take over the world thing came about, there was a push by APL to save its position. And the U.S. Department of Transportation, by all accounts, looks like it is in the interest of the U.S. Department of Transportation and MARAD, the Maritime Administration. It's in the best interest of the people of Guam that APL stick around and that Matson not have a true monopoly as stated in these federal filings. So when it comes to representing Guam's best interests at the federal level, who do you think should be our first advocate? Yeah, you could say the governor, but we elect a congressperson, right? We elect someone to Congress to represent our best interests, and for something that is as far-reaching as this whole shipping issue, you would have thought that Madeline Berdallo would have done something, but apparently she didn't. Let's play that video. Madeline Berdallo resisted signing a letter of support for APL when she was a congresswoman, and she just left office in January of this year. But Governor Eddie Calvo and CNMI Governor Ralph Torres both signed these letters in the best interest of the people of Guam and the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. And you know why Madeline Berdallo didn't sign that letter? You always follow the money. Always, it's always a connection. So we found that this is just one fundraiser that's found in filings in the Federal Election Commission. In 2008, there was a $1,000 a plate fundraiser, and there are several other fundraisers like this, but just this one example. Len Isitoff, the general manager of Matson at this time, contributed $1,000, just like that, to Madeline Berdallo's campaign. Matson has been donating to Madeline Berdallo's campaigns all of these years, and it is no wonder you never heard a fucking peep from her about Matson and about Matson trying to establish a monopoly here on this island. So for all that talk about being a good Democrat and wanting to, stay away from Sherman antitrust, blah, 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 she's been advocating for Matson this entire time. Why? Because they contributed to her. It's always about the money. So we're gonna have more about this. We just have scratched the surface on this issue. There is a whole lot more to this. There are several filings on this docket in this federal case in the District of Columbia. And there's a lot of the money trail that we're gonna follow. And we're gonna see where Matson has put its money in local coffers and in federal coffers, and who they've tried to influence. Because the reality is we need APL to stay. We need there to be competition against Matson, or else we're all fucked. All right? And so that's a wrap for us tonight. We'll try to get a hold of Paul Tapau and Janela Carrera and whoever tomorrow, Sunday. I don't care if it's Sunday. The people deserve answers for things, and we're going to try and get you answers. So until then, good night, and that's all.
That's all.
Union, which exposed the
That's all.
exploitation.
That's all. That's all. That's all. That's all. That's all.